Hey guys, welcome to today's conversation, and I'm actually excited to have very nice and amazing two young gentlemen, Michael Teoh from Malaysia, and uh, and also TKay from Lesotho. So, gentlemen, I would just actually like you guys to first start by introducing yourselves, and I think we'll start with TKay. TK, let's start with you.
All right. Hello to your viewers on YouTube. My name is Nthebe. I am a personal finance coach and content creator. So I have a YouTube channel. I do blogs. I do Instagram. I do everything really. I am from the mountain kingdom of Lesotho in the southern part of Africa. So I particularly like Kenya, but I love when my Kenyan friends come down to Lesotho to experience some snow and do some skiing. Our country is really quite beautiful in terms of landscape as well. A bit about TKay. TKay studied finance at a master's level. TKay loves to travel. He really loves to travel. But more interesting about TKay is terrible at dating. Guys, I am really terrible at dating. So
You're
my goal
kidding,
for
right? I mean, you have a champion personality. The ladies are losing out. They don't know what they're missing.
Believe me when I say I'm terrible at dating. So my goal for 2020 was to find a significant partner, and it's August, and I am still at.
TKay,
So
I think you right now. I'm going to ask you a question.
I think you should not even try August. August is entanglement month, so don't even forget about that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
But TKay, I have a question for you, right? Why not you announce to us right now? How do we get in touch with you? What's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? Hey, you got to start somewhere, man. I mean, there will be thousands of people watching this YouTube.
Well, I give out my social media handles all the damn time, and there's nobody sliding into my DMs. But anyway, on Instagram, I'm at TK_Nthebe. Twitter, the same handle. Facebook, I'm Tuki, so TK Nthebe. And I'll share these on the platform as well. But yeah, hit me up and let's enjoy that entanglement. I love entanglements.
Let's tango.
Yeah, Michael, go ahead. Kindly introduce yourself.
Hey, thank you, Kelvin. Thank you, TKay. Some of you may be wondering, who is this loud guy at the side right here? Well, first and foremost, a very good evening. At least that's where I'm from. I'm from Malaysia in Southeast Asia, where by the time of this session going live, we are 11 p.m. where I am right now. I've gotten to know Kelvin Jodisi. He's a dear friend. In fact, I got to know him first because he represented Kenya.
Since 2011. Since 2011 in Zurich.
2011. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Kelvin Jodisi at that time was representing Kenya in the world's largest social entrepreneurship competition called Your Big Year, where he was competing against 60,000 people from 212 countries. And that was the time I realized, oh my God, in our world, in our God's green earth, we do have so many countries. So that was when I got a chance to meet Kelvin, and we became good friends ever since. He hosted me as well when we were there. I was visiting Kenya. But just to give you a little bit of background about myself. So again, my name is Michael Teoh. Salam Sejahtera. That's a peace greeting from Malaysia. And I run a company called Thriving Talents. We are a talent development company. We provide training, consulting, and coaching in 3 areas. In the areas of sales and marketing, in the areas of millennials generation leadership, and in the areas of employee or talent productivity. We have had the great opportunity, and we are extremely humbled to have expanded our business to 41 countries so far, which includes Kenya. Thanks to Kelvin for letting me go there to speak in the United Nations as well. Fantastic. And then we work with some of the world's largest Fortune 500 companies as our clients, companies like Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, Volkswagen, Shell, to name a few. One of my most memorable memories that actually Kelvin contributed was that when I was in Kenya, he arranged for me to actually meet President Barack Obama's grandmother. And I had the chance to meet her. And then Kelvin, who would have thought that 3 years after that, President Barack Obama did visit Malaysia, and he did come and visit my training. So that was amazing. I had a chance to take a picture with him, I had a chance to talk to him. But what's even more important was that he visited my training, and it was a testament. It was a testament of young people like us. As long as we are willing to step up, even the wildest dreams can happen. And this wildest dream of mine was very significant because it was a recognition by the president himself of what young people like us, like what TKay, with his dream of educating more financially savvy young people, can do to make our world a better place. So I want to thank you all again for tuning into this YouTube channel. Please do go and subscribe at Kelvin Jodeci's YouTube channel. Amazing content coming up. Go ahead, Kelvin.
The content is really quite amazing. I if I must say so myself, I love the work that Kelvin is doing in the Kenyan context, and I'm absolutely fortunate to be on this platform with you, Michael. I mean, 11 p.m. in Malaysia, 5 p.m. in Lesotho. Kevin, I think, is an hour ahead from here. So I love the power of the internet and its contribution to the development of our dreams, like you're saying,
Oh, very nice, TKay. Yes. I mean, Kelvin is always so humble, but he has appeared on the Dragon's Den in Kenya. He even fundraised, won that competition. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing, And I could see, I could see that he's even gotten great friends like yourself, TKay, who's here. And I think we're here right now. We'll be talking about how do we create viral content. And TKay,
absolutely,
what's your thought about that? Like, what is the trend in viral content back there in Lesotho? And perhaps we can learn a thing or two, and how can we apply it to no matter where we are from around the world? Go ahead, TKay.
So for me, I love to share my own journey and hopefully drive the point home. So for me, I think I've always been a content creator, but I've never actually been very intentional about creating content. And for the longest of times, I used to create blog posts. I used to do, a radio. I used to do podcasting. I just started podcasting at this about a week or so. I'm also building a YouTube channel. So I think from a Lesotho context, there is a lot of content creation. And I think what I love about our generation is they are starting to really focus on driving this content on the digital platforms that are available. There is still a lot of discomfort around putting ourselves out there, but I'm starting to see a lot more. In Lesotho, we call people from this country Basotho. So I'm starting to see a lot more Basotho come forth and actually create YouTube channels, monetize their social media platforms such as Instagram. You start to see a lot more Basotho creating a lot of content and taking advantage of the platforms that it's using. Recently, I've seen one of our best local musicians, very young at heart, owning what we call bringing Sesotho to the fashion, So Basotho have what we call Sesotho is our language, but what he did is to create a hashtag that is revolutionizing music across the African continent. And it's really just from the power of a hashtag, Sesotho fashioning. What basically means is we are putting our language, which is Sesotho, in fashion, and it's gone viral. It's really gone viral. From our counterparts in South Africa to our counterparts in Botswana to all the way across the African continent. So I honestly believe that we live in an era that is life-changing, where the power of the internet can literally transform you from one point to a global phenomena, but also bearing in mind the dangers that also come with social media and the digital platforms that we have. So yes.
Wow, powerful, TKay. TKay, I think that's a powerful point that all of our audience right now could actually learn. And that is, with technology these days, I think what is really stopping you from becoming a content creator is really the mindset. Because now, you have a mobile phone. You could literally, at any time, at anywhere, to anyone, you could just create content. And I think, TKay, you mentioned a very powerful point, and I would sum them up as community, in a sense where you mentioned the hashtag, but the fashion designers in Lesotho put things up. And I think people, they want to feel they're part of a community. And the way they can feel they're part of a community is when they see certain hashtags, certain languages that they could relate with. And because of that, I think when they can relate with, they support, they spread the content like viral. And I think for those of you watching, I think it's very important, try to find out what does your local community want? What is the latest thing they're talking about? Hashtag it, build a community around it, and then things will go viral.
Exactly. And I think that would bring us to, I think, our kind of like the first question that I wanted to ask you, gentlemen. I mean, starting with Michael, you build a brand over the years. You know, you build yourself a brand over the years. Could you guys tell us about your brand journey? I mean, TKay, you've also built your brand. I checked your YouTube; it's amazing, and what you're doing in Lesotho is quite amazing. Could you guys share your personal branding journeys?
All right, if I may, TKay, with permission. Excellent. I just thought I wanted to share that first. So my personal brand journey, well, I'm in the education business. As you all know, I help companies increase their sales. I help companies market better. Basically, I help people and organizations make more money. I help them manage their people better, increase the productivity of their people so that they become more profitable as companies. So if you were to ask me, how did I start my brand journey? I think number one, you need to understand your identity. In a sense, what do you want to represent? When I started Thriving Talents in 2012, and as you would remember, Kelvin, that was right after your big year when I was going around the world, I started off championing youth empowerment. I wanted more corporate people, more politicians, more civil society to recognize young people. And I started that as a brand. And then let me share this with you. Some people say, when you start your brand journey, it is fixed. Let me tell you, it is not. Your brand will evolve, right? And my brand evolved. I started out working with young people. I still do until today. But then I started to realize that, hey, you can work with young people, but you need to also work with leaders. You need to work with organizations. Number one, who have the resources like money, the connections, the networks, the opportunities to realize young people's potential. So your brand started to morph. Now, I'm going to give you guys another tip. Number one is, start with your brand identity, champion something. Number two, start identifying any platforms that you have out there to go out and share your ideas. As an example, I mentioned Thriving Talents. We are in 41 countries. We are not yet in Lesotho. So right here in this platform, as I'm sharing with all of you, giving 200% of my love, you know, and my care. Hey, I would love to do something with Lesotho, you know, through TKay, right? So again, explore as many platforms as possible for you to get your message out. Last but not least, the final tip I wish to share with all of you. I've always been a believer of leverage, brand leverage, in a sense that you may be nobody when you're starting out. And truth be told, the only shortcut or the only accelerated way how you want to get people to notice you is when you start associating with people that are more successful than you and rub off their fame and their success. That is how you do it. For me, for example, you know, Kelvin would know this. Kelvin, too, had the opportunity to meet and learn from Sir Richard Branson. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. So I had the opportunity to learn from Sir Richard as well. So I rubbed off from his brand. And people would always see my pictures appearing with him. You know, at the start, we shared about how President Barack Obama visited my training. That, too, is another brand leverage. So have that in mind. How do you rub shoulders with some of these important people, iconic people, so that you could leverage on their prominence as well? Back to you.
Yeah, Kelvin. Exactly. TKay, I mean, you've been also doing pretty well. I mean, tell us something about your brand journey.
I think similar to Michael, I've also gone through a process. So for me, how my brand journey started is I needed to firstly identify what it is that I want to be known for. not just known for, but I wanted to, I had to define what I want when people interact with TKay. I wanted them to feel a certain kind of way, you know, and that feeling for me was I wanted people to feel empowered. I wanted people to feel inspired, and I wanted people to feel like they really can get the finances right. So I'm in the personal finance and in the personal finance education space, and how it started is I went through a process where I made a lot of financial mistakes, despite the fact that I'm a graduate. I'm a finance graduate. So I went to university, I studied finance, I mastered finance, but I got into the working environment and I was still prone to the very same financial mistakes a lot of young people make. And I'm talking about high levels of debt. I'm talking about credit card debt. I'm talking no amount of savings. I'm talking about, you know, not planning for your future. And through those mistakes that I've made, I then came back and said, I've made these mistakes. I acknowledge the mistakes I've made, but I want to share my mistakes with other young people so that they also feel like you're not alone, it's okay, but let's get the work done, you know. So that's what I wanted my brand to identify and how I wanted people to identify with the brand. So at the same time, I then had to devise or work on a strategy on how I'm going to do this, you know. So that means, like Kevin says, which platforms do I want to use? I'm talking about YouTube. I'm talking about my blog, WordPress. I'm talking about Instagram. And then you obviously start curating the story. So I love the fact that Michael also mentioned that your brand is not a static or, you know, it's a moving piece. But what grounds my brand is the values that my brand identifies with, the values, you know. And for me, as long as
sorry, just go ahead.
Yeah, so the values, so the values is what
TKay.
keeps, okay, cool. So the values is what keeps my brand grounded, you know. The values decide which events I go to, which collaborations which leverages, like Michael said, I partner with, the partnerships I go into, they need to be aligned. And this also comes very cross, the other thing that comes across very strongly is the authenticity of it, you know, so I'm very authentic to myself. So before I come up with the corporate colors and the logos and the brand tagline, I firstly need to identify what values do I associate with, or do I want my brand to be associated with? And then that's how I go. And then for me, the next step was to say, I'm very intentional about growing this brand because I believe that whether you are intentional or you're aware of it, every single person has a brand, whether you like it or not. The difference is you are deciding to curate the kind of story you want your brand to tell, you know. And I read an article that sort of solidified or validated what I was feeling, to say that whether you like it or not, when you step out, go to work or whatever you do have a brand. What makes the difference is you curate the story you want your brand to tell. So that's when I started to say that I want my brand to say that it's okay, make your financial mistakes, but how you put in the work and commit to making that thing. So my brand shows in how I walk, how I talk, how I present myself, how I show up into the world, because it's grounded on the values, and the strategy that I have in place is just to help me accelerate, help me be on platforms like this, you know, talking to Michael in Malaysia, talking to Kelvin in Kenya. So there, so basically the alignment is what is very, very important for my personal brand. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good, that's a very important point right there. Michael, you build a very holistic brand, you know, first you started by building your own brand, you know, your personal brand, and now you're building a thriving talents brand. So how do you differentiate the difference? You know, how differentiate Michael from thriving talent? Because I think that's one of the things that most people, I can't unattach myself from, like, you know, my business. So if people know me as my business, so how do I make two brands, but actually they are different brands?
Thank you so much, Kelvin. To answer your question, it really depends on which stage is your business currently in. So let me give you an example. Here's a personal suggestion. If you have a brand new business and your brand as the CEO, as the founder of the business, is more prominent than your business, you should use the formative years, the early years of your business, where your business leverages on your personal brand as the CEO or founder. We see a lot of examples to Sir Richard Branson. In Asia, we have our king of low-cost airline, Tony Fernandez of AirAsia. So they all use their own brands. Steve Jobs, right? They use their own brands to beef up the company, all right? Now, having said that, though, it will come to a point when if you have investors in the company, your investors would be asking you, the problem with your company relying on your personal brand is that it is highly unscalable because people would only want to do business with Michael Teoh. No one wants to do business with Thriving Talents. So as a CEO, as a founder, you need to make I wouldn't say a tough choice. I would say it's a strategic choice. What you need to do is this. You need to start changing the communication. It comes down to your marketing materials. It comes down to all the marketing promotions that you put out. You need to now let people know, despite it being Thriving Talents Airlines, Thriving Talents Radio, Thriving Talents Academy, Thriving Talents University, sure, it is no longer handled personally by Michael Teoh, but you need to communicate to your customers, to your shareholders, to your stakeholders that the brand of Thriving Talents embodies the values of what Michael Teoh, the original founder, believed in. And how do you do that? You need to list down your values. List down the values. As a leader, you need to start role modeling. You need to start showing people how you are living and breathing the value. You need to make sure your other leaders are also living and breathing the value so that people now can see, once they see these behaviors, these values being shown repeatedly, they now know Thriving Talents brand has the values of Michael Teoh, but it is Thriving Talents' own brand. It is no longer that related towards Michael Teoh, as an example, Kelvin. So that is a strategy that you use when you want to expand your business to the next level.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if TKay is TKay. Can you be able to hear us? TKay, what do you think? I mean, you've also been able to. I mean, you do a lot of stuff. And are you more comfortable with, working as TKay, or are you comfortable working as your own consulting company? Because, once you start growing as a company, there's need for you to actually be able to leave your name and actually maintain and build the brand of the company.
Yeah. So I love what Michael said. He made some really, really powerful points. Scalability is very important for me. Secondly, so how I went about it is there's the TKay Nthebe brand, and then there's a TKO consultancy brand. Two different organizations, two different entities. But the values that are driving the company are TKay, the brand, So what I then did is I sat down, I actually consulted a brand strategist. So I sat down and I said, these are the values that define TKay Nthebe, the individual. And these are the values that define TKO. Yes, there may be some overlapping values here and there, but these two companies or these two entities are very, very different, So I also meant that I had to separate every single thing from my social media pages and my company's social media pages. They had to be two different entities. And the person that drives the social media engagement on the TKay on the company page is somebody who's different from me. But they also understand the values of what the company stands for, and how they communicate with the customers still has to embody the values that the founder, which is me, still advocates for. So I strongly believe in that, because if you want to scale at some point, you do need to have two different entities. But what I'm currently doing while building the company is the company is also it's also leveraging of my personal brand, because people know TKay, the brand, and they know what I've achieved in my individual space. So I'm sort of using that to bring in the customers. But now I'm also starting to build a team that says, this is how we handle our customers, and these are the customer experience, our journey, our customers need the customer journey our customers need to go through when engaging with the company. Yeah. So very, very solid points by Michael. My part was just we do need to separate that, the two.
I mean, but what do you guys think about what do you guys think about having ambassadors for different brands. You for example, Michael, you've worked with big brands in Malaysia and across different countries, and brands like to associate with other successful musicians. They want to associate with maybe models and all this kind of stuff, and that's still an image. What do you think about that kind of branding strategy, whereby you associate with the people in the society, and then how do you save yourself just in case maybe one of your brand ambassadors do something really, really bad and you need to protect your company's image? How do you go about that?
The first thing is, if you have appointed an ambassador for your brand and he or she decides to do something funny, the first thing as a company, you need to protect your brand image. And the way you do that is, if it's unsalvageable, if he or she did something so bad, the first thing you got to do from a legal point of view is issue a press statement disassociating yourself from that ambassador. Okay, that's the most basic that you can do. I mean, some people say, oh, but the ambassador helped us a lot. Yeah, but then again, you are answerable to your stakeholders and shareholders, right? So first statement, do that. Number two, Kelvin, I think based on your question is, how do you know which ambassador fits your brand? Now, again, there's a few criteria. Number one is obviously you look at the ambassador. If that ambassador embodies, number one, the values, like what TKay has mentioned, the values that you champion from your brand or your company. All right. So that's number one. You would see some examples like Sir Richard Branson. He launched, he has a huge footprint in Africa, and he works with a lot of young entrepreneurs in the African continent. And you could see why.
Exactly.
Because most of these young entrepreneurs are also somewhat like himself. They're risk-taking, they're visionary. So there you go. So that's criteria number one. Look at the values. Criteria number two, as much as value goes, it's great. We need to talk about commercial terms. We need to talk about ambassadors that could bring you a long way. And that means they either have a community that you want to target or you want to help. Or these ambassadors, they have a following where they would have customers that could be your customers as well. So you need to think about that, because there are just too many organizations out there. They spend millions in appointing ambassadors, and that's good. But at the end of the day, there's no return on investment, ROI.
Yeah.
When there's no return on investment, ambassador campaigns like that die off because there's no return.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Some of the most powerful ambassador campaign, Nike has people like Usain Bolt. Nike has I think previously, if I'm not wrong, was it Nike or Reebok? They have Michael Jordan. What happened is that those were very successful ambassador campaign, and they spend millions on them. And why do they still continue to spend millions on them even until today after they've retired? Because there's ROI. So for all of you watching this right now, if you want to become like a brand ambassador, hey, I know it's great to feel the fame, but build the foundation, like what TKay said. TKay went on blogging. He started with WordPress. He went on podcasting. He's on every channel. You got to put in the work. Build your genuine following. And then the sponsors, the money will come to you.
Yeah. So I think, Kelvin, just to jump in, Michael is really killing it tonight, taking, So for me, so for me, the one concept I've learned, I'm not sure if it's from one of the books I've read, but the one concept that I've learned that I'm applying in my personal and business life is hire slow, fire fast, And why hire slow is because you want to make sure that this person that you're bringing on board, be it a brand ambassador, be it an influencer, be it an employee, they embody, they check all their boxes. They embody what your company stands for. And for me is, if anything puts my company's reputation at risk, it is like Michael said, to repair the damage to the reputation is going to take you years if you'll ever recover. So for me, the moment anybody puts my brand in jeopardy, I really do not compromise, personal or business brand. And I think just to add a bit of spice to that as well, the new thing that I'm obsessed with now is, as a content creator, I am now trying to get into the influencing space. And what I'm learning working with different brands is it's not necessarily about the number of followers you have. It's about the value you are contributing to that particular brand, and it's about the engagement of the community or the followers you have built. So for me, what I'm putting my efforts in terms of the people who follow my brand is, are they engaged? Am I providing value to the community or the people who follow me? That way, it's easier for me to take that value that I bring and the following the community I've built. I then use that to add value to the customers or the brands I work with, And for me as a brand influencer or doing work with different brands, I also need to work with brands that I align with, because it makes it easier for me to avoid those mishaps that come with working with brands. If the brand synergies or the brand values are aligned, it becomes a lot easier for me. I get the vision of the company the brand I'm working with. So for me to put myself in a compromising situation that will ultimately affect the brand I'm associated with becomes very minimal. So for me, it's becoming very, very important for you to don't chase the money all the time. Money is good. And from a personal finance, saying that don't chase the money all the time, chase the money, but also do it in a very methodical, strategic way, because you put in the value and then the money will come. And when it comes, it will come in abundance. It will come in abundance. And that's where it becomes important for you to also be able to manage that money when it comes in abundance. So for me, values and brand alignment. Sometimes we need to be able to say no to certain deals because they're not aligned to our values. And that way you're avoiding, you're already minimizing the problems or the challenges it will come with.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point right there that TKay has been able to say. Let's go to digital marketing, and we're living in the age of digital. Before I go straight to my first question, I'll just like you guys to share your experience. What are some of the things that you've learned, especially because of COVID? COVID just came, and we were not very sure that this thing actually was gonna last almost the end of the year. We were like, okay, it's in February. We hope by May it will be done, and people goes back to their normal life. What do you feel about the digital space, especially that during this COVID, Michael?
First and foremost, the biggest lesson I've learned: people say data is the new oil. That's the biggest bull you could ever hear. Data is not oil. Data can be the new oil as long as your database is active. And how do you activate your database? Is the engagement that you give them. So during this COVID-19 space, you tend to find that there are a lot of companies who invest in marketing campaigns, and just like what TKay mentioned, they invest in campaigns who have people who have a lot of followers, 200,000 followers, and they thought, wait, I'm just gonna throw all my marketing dollars there. 200,000 people are gonna buy my stuff. That didn't happen because the 200,000 people was just in a database. They have become cold database. They don't respond, right? I would rather have 2,000 people in my database where I have at least 50% of them actively responding, where no matter what product I push to them, they are gonna buy. And now the secret sauce to that is, how do you get them to follow you? How do you get them to obey you whenever you promote something new to them, a product or service? Engagement. That's it, engagement. So I would like to ask, this COVID-19, definitely it has gotten all of us to go online. We want to sell our products online. We want to sell our courses online. But for us to do it effectively, my question to all of you watching this, when was the last time you spoke to your followers? When was the last time you did not ask your followers to buy something from you? Rather, you gave something willingly to your followers. When was the last time you did that? If you have never done that and you're planning to sell them something right now, good luck, my brothers and sisters.
You know how I know Michael is a sales guy. Like I love how he brings in. I'm also a sales guy. I love how he brings in the numbers to provide context, but also sets you with hardcore facts to say that if you're not engaging your audience, do not push product down their throats because they will not buy. They will not buy.
Exactly.
So Kelvin, to your point regarding digital marketing, particularly during the COVID pandemic, personally for me is and more so during the lockdowns when it was very difficult for me to move around, So for me, I'm already doing a lot of content, but for me during that lockdown period was a great opportunity to say that this is the perfect opportunity to create content, not just to create content to push down people's throats, or push it down to the people, but to actually create valuable content, So in my space, I do a lot of financial coaching. I do a lot of personal finance work and in that regard, and education in that regard. So for me, a lot of people are sitting at home worried about their personal finances, and I was like, a lot of people were getting retrenched. A lot of people were taking pay cuts. My job was to say, what can I do to provide valuable insights as to how these people can deal with the anxiety that facing, So I had to sit down and create multiple content for different platforms, So I'll create videos for IGT, Instagram TV. I'll do videos on my YouTube channel. I'll share articles on my different blog posts, do blog articles, just so that people can get the value. And why I was doing this was not to say, follow me, follow me, follow me. I was saying, let's share this experience together. We are all anxious. We are all afraid. So the engagement that Michael speaks of is very, 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 very important. And I love it. I laugh a lot when he says that data is the new oil. But what I loved from a Lesotho context at least, I think I also speak from the African context at least, is the pandemic has forced us to really embrace the fourth industrial revolution. It really it pushed us to embrace technology in its full entirety. And for me, that was fantastic to see. That there's so much power in technology and how we use it and how we can connect. Like I'm saying, I'm still in awe by the fact that webinars are so possible and so becoming the new norm. I am sitting here in Lesotho. Kelvin is sitting in Kenya. Michael is in Malaysia, and
midnight.
Here we are in midnight, and here we are having a conversation as if we are in the same room, and that is testimony of how powerful digital marketing is, So for me, I am loving the opportunities that are coming with it. Scary at times because you can post a tweet on Twitter and then it just goes all the way down. So I love the fact that it poses opportunities, but again, let's be mindful of the platforms we use and let's respect the powerful platforms the digital era is providing.
Yeah, and what's could you guys take us through like some of the steps to, like, if you want to do a very effective digital marketing, what are some of the best steps?
If I may, TK, just a quick one. I believe first thing you got to do is, number one, no matter what content you push out to your audience, you need to give them an offer. And here is a tip that I wish to share with all of you. I call this the 4 hooks, like, fish hooks. I call this the 4 hooks. Before you start even creating content for your audience, you need to ask yourself, does your content help your audience meet 4 of these hooks? Number 1, does it help them accomplish something? Number 2, does it help them avoid something, avoid a pain, avoid a bad tragedy, avoid a problem? Number 3, does it help them reduce something, reduce headache, reduce a problem, right? Or number 4, it helps them improve something. As an example, if I were to push out a content, I would say, my dear brothers and sisters watching this right now on Kelvin's channel on YouTube, by watching this series with TK and myself and Kelvin, we are going to help you to improve your digital brand online by helping you to reduce the headaches, to remove the uncertainties that you have in planning your brand so that you can accomplish superstardom in social media. So what happened is that once you have such a declaration as the hook to get your audiences excited, that is when they would start consuming, start spreading, and start sharing your content virally. So again, this is a very important point. The 4 hooks. Always ask yourself, what is your audience getting? There you go, Kelvin.
Again, Michael is a coach, Kelvin. I tell you, like he's
Michael. Yeah, Michael's the coach.
Yeah,
Michael's the coach.
I can
That's
relate
very
to this
true.
because this is some of the things I apply in my coaching. How do you transform your client's life? How do you get them to that point in life when they say that their lives have been improved in one way or the other, or no pain, no hate. I love that. So for me, as an add-on to what Michael said, without repeating what he said, is for me it's about understanding the platforms. What you post on Twitter and what you post on YouTube, what you post on Facebook and Instagram are completely different. What you post on LinkedIn is very, very different. So the content that you share, you need to understand the platform you want to share it with. Again, the value that Michael speaks of. What do you want your customers or your audience or your followers to take out of the content that you're sharing? And how is it helping them benefit or improve or reduce or transform some part of their life? So that is very, very important for me as well. Thirdly, the power of hashtags. In the Lesotho context, you see people using hashtags. Hashtag, I had a great day yesterday. What are you trying to do? Michael spoke about the community earlier on. The community is intertwined or interlinked or connected by the hashtags that we use. So let's understand the importance of using hashtags. What I'm learning now is, search engine optimization for the different platforms. Again, the content that you're creating is understand how you can use SOE to optimize the content that you're using. For me as well, the other thing that's becoming very, very important as I'm growing my business is analytics. The numbers never, ever lie. And you can measure the content, and you can measure the reach. You can measure the engagement level of your content. So for me is use the internet. I call it the university of YouTube. The things I'm learning on YouTube, the content I'm receiving on YouTube, I could have a master's degree from the University of YouTube. So do not be afraid to put yourself out there. And I think the other platform that I normally use, I think it's Google Digital. I just always get it wrong. But I use those because there's so many online courses on LinkedIn as well. There's so many online courses around digital marketing that can help you really, really grow and transform your brand online.
There is actually, if I may add, Kelvin, from what TKay has shared, there's only two mindsets that one can adopt, whether to be successful online in digital marketing, digital branding, or just to be successful in life in general. So these are the two mindsets, and TKay mentioned it. I just want to summarize it. Number one, in our digital age today, there is no such thing as not enough resources. There is only an unresourceful mind. So that's number one.
Absolutely.
There you go. And number two, you decide. It's either one day, or for you, it is day one.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay.
At the end of the day, some of our friends watching this right now will be thinking, Michael and TKay and Kelvin, of course you could say all this because you guys had it handed to you. Kelvin was representing Kenya,
no, man, no,
Liverpool. I mean, some people will be watching, like, will be saying that, right? Like TKay is a financial coach, but guess what? It wasn't handed to us. We worked hard on it. We didn't say one day. We said day one. And we didn't know that the brand that we were putting up was going to create this following that we have. We just put it up anyway. And in the end, people started to follow. We serve more people.
And I think, Michael, just to add on to that, to you too, Kelvin, as well. People think it's very easy. I know personally, whenever I have to put anything out, be it a video on YouTube, be it a blog post, be it a post on Instagram, when you have those chills down your spine and you're like, am I sure? Did I proofread this correctly? Are the hashtags correct? Every single time I have anxiety before I post anything. But what makes the difference between myself and the other person is I actually get it done.
Yes.
So a lot of people, we obsess about perfection. We obsess about, is this perfect? Is this correct? You'll never know until you get it done. So one of my favorite quotes is by Sandra Shirley, when she says, done is better than perfect. So my mantra is I get done and I perfect as I go along. But at the same time, I do not compromise on the quality. I don't obsess about perfection. I put in the quality, but I get it done. So let's also get into the habit of getting things done. So if you want to start, get it done. Start on day one, like Michael says. Start on day one.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's something that TKay said that is quite important in terms of, I mean, when it comes to social media marketing as a form of branding as well. You talked about, what you post on your Facebook is actually not the same thing that you post on your Twitter and all that. And we found that most companies actually, you find that most companies are successful maybe only on Facebook, but they're not on Twitter or they're not on Instagram. TKay, and I think also Michael can add on this. How do you collectively actually holistically build all your digital platform at the same time so that you don't have, just a lot of focus on your Facebook and then your Twitter is not doing well and your Instagram is not doing well?
So I think for me, it goes back to, you need to have a content map, So firstly, you need to understand the different platforms, and then you need to have a content map. Content map in the sense that it helps you structure what you want to post on which platform, on which day, and why you're posting it. And then there's an overarching golden thread through what you're posting. Again, the second thing is understanding your audience, and you can only understand your audience through engaging with them, So people, your audience on Twitter will be very different from your audience on Facebook, So you need to provide content that is tailor-made for that particular content. The other thing that I'm learning to use is I don't want to say recycle, but you can recycle, for lack of a better word. You can recycle the content for different audiences, How you speak on Twitter versus how you speak on Facebook is very different. But you can share the same content, but then tailor-make it for that particular segment, And then what I normally post on my radio segment on Mondays, I have a radio segment where we talk about money. We call it #Money Monday, where what we talk about on Money Monday. And normally the conversation later on in the week, I start a conversation on Twitter regarding that particular topic. So that's how you can sort of expand and expunge the content for the different platforms. But it really does take a lot of strategy. I spoke about strategy earlier on. It goes back to the planning. This is what we want to engage on Twitter. This is what we want to engage on LinkedIn. So you need to have a plan and a strategy around how you're going to optimize the different platforms.
Yeah, Michael.
Well, I agree with TKay. I would say that if you are personally managing your brand online, it's better to focus. Focus in a sense, know where your audiences are. For example, truth be told, I'm lazy when it comes to social media management. So a lot of my clients, you would imagine the Microsofts, the Oracles, the Shells of the world, the HSBCs, they're all based in LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn a lot. All right. And then what happens is tend to find I recycle my content. I reposted what I have posted on LinkedIn over on my Facebook and Instagram. Is it the best way? Honestly, it's not. Just like what TKay say, every social media channel has its own strategy. But I think because I'm very focused, I only want LinkedIn crowd. If I were to go into Facebook actively, I would change my strategy. But just like what TKay say again, just like what his mentor told him, done is always better than perfect. So I would still want to keep my Facebook followers, my Twitter followers, my Instagram followers, knowing what I do. So I just copy and paste whatever I posted on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is where I really zoom in. And, it was earlier this year in May where I was even listed as the #1 person you should follow in Malaysia on LinkedIn. Now, again, I'm saying that because there was a strategy put in, but you'll never find me as the #1 person you should follow on Facebook in Malaysia. Never. All right? Because that's the strategy. So again, I don't know. I think you can't win them all.
Focus. Focus.
The master in one channel. Focus.
So meaning that you. Yeah, so meaning that you have to identify one particular one and focus on that more, and then definitely you actually need to still have a presence on maybe WhatsApp, Instagram or Twitter, but then you are stronger on LinkedIn.
Yes and no, because TKay, he focused on all the platforms, But you notice what TKay kept saying. He has different strategies for each platform. So obviously, he's more hardworking than me in terms of engaging people online. I'm just focused on LinkedIn. So guys, add me on LinkedIn, add me on Facebook. There you go.
I think Michael, I don't. Firstly, I think we need to acknowledge just how much work goes into a social media, managing any social media platform, be it whether you're focusing purely on LinkedIn. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Now, I can't imagine when you have to have content for Instagram and YouTube and for the different platforms, and create content for them as well. So what I would like to add on to that as well is let's acknowledge the hard work. But then again, for me, what's working for me is I have a brand team. Well, I have a brand guy who's very passionate about that, So sometimes I let him run with the Twitter because he enjoys Twitter, and let him run with Facebook. And I'm also very leaning towards LinkedIn, So I'm doing a lot more work on the LinkedIn page. But because there's a synergy in terms of what the values are from the company point of view, who's ever managing the different platforms understands what we are hoping to achieve. And what I like in Michael's space is, again, it goes back to understanding what your customer wants and designing solutions with them in mind. If your customers are predominantly active on LinkedIn, and that's where the bulk of your sales are in, and that's how they want to be engaged, it means that give the customers what they want. Go to where the customers are. Go to where the money is. So if you have to put a lot more focus on one particular one because that's your bread and butter, and that's where you are most engaged with your customers, then do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really good. I mean, I think we have a few minutes, around 10 minutes to wind this up. But would you guys share with us some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to, and then we're going to start with, when it comes to social media. I mean, when it comes to personal branding or personal branding, company branding, and then you can also share the do's and don'ts when it comes to social media marketing.
Right. I guess I'll start. Number one, the first don't put up content that you're going to regret 5 years later when you see it. Yeah. Again, you always have a choice. You can delete pictures, if you want to upload content that is personally yours, make a disclaimer saying that, this is like my diary. So I don't care what you guys think, whatever I post up, make a disclaimer. Don't mix your personal account with your business account. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, your shareholders would be saying, hey, 10 years ago, why did you post that picture of you in a party? And then everybody goes haywire. So again, number one, don't post up content that you will regret. Number two, the do's. So what do we do? Personally, from my experience, I would recommend you post up content that comes with lessons. In a sense, as you reflect on your life's experiences, share with your audience what were some of the lessons you learned. Give them some practical tips. How can they implement or emulate certain degree of success identical to you? All right. So that audiences know that you're not just using a social media platform to show off, you are actually sharing something of value to them. All right. And the third point I would like to make is this. People buy you, the person. People buy the story that you have. In the end, here's my belief. Features tell, benefits sell. So if you want to create a brand and you want to sell something, hey, stop talking to people about the features. Tell them how, with them following you, they're able to transform their lives, how they're able to become a better person after they followed you. Give them those knowledge and they will be your raving fans.
Yeah.
Sales coach in the building. Sales coach in the building. So for me, the don't is think before you post. Just similar like Michael says, think before you post, type it, leave it in draft form, and then go back and ask yourself, do I want to post this? Because with digital marketing and social media in particular, it can go viral very quickly, Again, I also would reiterate what he said about separating your company and your personal brands aside. But for me, what I would say we need to focus on is what I said earlier on when we started the conversation. what is your brand value, and this also attributes to what we kind of share, not just about what you post, but the kind of content you share on your different platforms. What you share, is it aligned to what your brand is about? Is it adding value to your community? So what we share and what we post go hand in hand. So for me, I would say think before you post. And two, what you need to do is look for the synergies, look for the alignment when you're sharing or posting anything online, And for me, again, what Michael said earlier on is your content really adding value? And what do you want, what you're posting? What do you want your audience to take out of what you're posting? Do you want them, what I normally call it, in public speaking, we call it a call to action. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to be inspired? Do you want them to buy? Do you want them to feel empowered? Do you want them to, what do you want your audience to do? The call to action. So think before you post, and then clearly understand the audience you're speaking to. And then, guys, let's also respect social media and the digital platforms, because it really is a privilege. It's a privilege for you to have people following your content. So respect yourself, respect them, and respect the platform. So that will be my contribution.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's go slightly into looking at the pandemic that has happened. I mean, as we just wind up, how do you think countries can strategically position themselves to actually start attracting either tourists, because we're going to have local tourists, we're going to have international people, because the flights are actually, some of the countries flights already going and all that. How do you think countries can actually be able to attract people? Because you see, a country is also like a company. They need to brand themselves, they need to put themselves outside there. What are some of the strategy you think countries need to use to actually start attracting people, telling people how their countries are safe and all this kind of stuff? I think we can start with you, Michael.
I think number one is you can use social media, you can use ambassadors, but at the end, the message is really clear. The message is, if a tourist were to come to your country, is it safe? Now, for any country, you could give a reassurance. You could tell people it's safe. I'm always a believer, people are visual creatures. We want to see it. So I would imagine that for any social media campaign that you're doing, you make it edgy, you make it nice, you show off your snowy mountains, like what TKay is proud of in Lesotho. Yeah, looking forward to go there.
I'm going to post the picture.
There you go, right? I mean, you could show off all those things, but I think it's also important for you to show videos of how you are keeping your country safe. You are showing people, like, are there any screening in the airports? And that, number one, it's about keeping your country as safe as possible upon entry. Number two is to ensure that there is no challenges, no difficulty when tourists come in, and that your country is so safe. The way you do screening for coronavirus is so innovative, so good, that they do not have to quarantine themselves. I know that no country so far have done that yet without the need to quarantine, because every time when you go into another country, like if you come to Malaysia, you would have to go into quarantine, right, for 2 weeks or so. But if a country was able to come up with an innovative method to show them that, hey, when you come in, we're not going to quarantine you, yet we're also going to make sure you're not going to be a carrier to the virus to our local people. We are also going to make sure that you're not going to get the virus from us. Show it all on video. I can tell you, tourists will come. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
I think for me, it's very aligned to what he says. Yeah, I was going to focus predominantly on the experience, and people want to feel safe, because safety at this point in time is really, really very important, So for me, and I love to travel, I love to travel. And I think one of the countries that always, before the COVID pandemic, was Thailand. You get to Thailand, having been to Malaysia, but you get to Thailand, and from the moment you land, from the moment you land in Thailand, you can already feel that you're at home. People bring you in and they invite you in. So for me, that experience of safety, that experience of I belong, or I'm gonna experience this particular place, becomes very, very important. And for you to bring that, it comes through in video. you can put together a very emotive video that unlocks, that safety, that unlocks that passion and drive for you to travel, because a lot of people want to travel. But again, how you position it on social media or whatever platform you're using becomes very, very important. Visuals, like Michael said, emotions, you need to evoke emotions. You need to reassure people that it's safe. And most importantly, you need to show that your country is worth coming to, because let's be honest, the tourism industry is very, very competitive. I could invite you to Lesotho. You are already saying, Michael, come back to Kenya. Michael is saying, come back to Malaysia. So again, it goes back to the customer.
Yeah, because we said after COVID, actually, we're going to Malaysia.
Yeah, no,
TKay, so that we're going to bring all Malaysians to.
But Shirley previously was saying, come through to Dubai. So it's already like it's very, very competitive. So you need to have a compelling call to action to invite me, and you need to bring that through video and imagery and the likes. Yeah,
that's right. All right.
Yeah. Just as we wind up, I just want you guys to probably give your parting shot, and just talk to somebody just want to starting up. There's starting up. They want to start their branding. They have maybe interest on YouTube. Like right now, people like watching a lot of YouTube videos, and YouTube has become the next big thing because people want to. People want to watch different videos, either comedy, either very good content like what we're talking about right now. So TKay, probably just as your part of parting shot, you can just probably take them through a simple journey of how you actually self-brand and even market yourself.
Yeah. So for me, like Michael said in the beginning, it starts with a mindset. So there needs to be a willingness for you to do it. Secondly, there needs to be intent. You need to be very intentional about it. And then thirdly, for me, I would say you need to start. So if you want to be, start that Facebook page, start that Instagram account, start that YouTube channel, start with what you have, where you are, but just start. And now once you've started, is for me on Instagram, if I'm a personal finance coach, I follow the community like we spoke about. I check what they're doing because that inspires the content and how I want to do it. On YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube videos similar to what I'm trying to do so that I can get ideas, So put in the work, be consistent, and keep learning. Like Michael said, we live in an era where resources are in abundance. So get the work done, have a strategy, and get it done. Start today. Don't wait for tomorrow, today.
Okay, Michael.
I agree with whatever TKay has mentioned. You all should be writing down notes of his words of wisdom at the end. If you were to prompt me for another suggestion, it is simply this: take good care of yourself. Because at the end of the day, what TKay and I and Kelvin have shared are a lot of strategies on social media. And I'm pretty sure we have actually inspired some of you to have ambitions, to want to become your own brand online. But in a time where the world is so uncertain, the world is so fast evolving and changing, hey, brothers and sisters, take care of yourself first. Find that space.
Mental health.
Yeah. Be with your family. Take care of them. All right. And then when you are at a place where you're calm, you're at a place where your mental health is motivated, you are present, and then start working on that dream of creating content, building your name on social media. But it always starts with you taking care of yourself first, because when you take care of yourself, you are then able to function effectively and hence lead a meaningful life altogether.
Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And I think we've come to the end of our session today. And probably just like you to probably give us your contact. How can people be able to reach you? Because I know after this, this video is going to be here for the next 100 years. So probably somebody would like to reach you, Michael, Teoh, would like to work with you. The same to TKay. Probably people watching would like to reach out with you to you in Lesotho and all that. So probably just share your contacts and your social media accounts as well.
Oh, thank you. TK, I'm gonna let you go last because you need to like remind people because you know you're looking for Mrs. TK for the year 2020. Okay, everybody. So please take note. Okay.
Oh
As for me,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We've forgotten that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't forget that. Um,
We
for
forgot that.
me, for me personally, you guys can reach out to me on Facebook. You guys could just with my name, Michael Teoh. You could reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram. You should be able to find me over there. I look forward to doing talks. One thing I love about this virtual sessions is that I do have this ambition to speak in as many countries as I can, and even virtually. I mean, I would love to do something in Lesotho right now, seeing that TK is there. Yay. And for the rest of you, if you could see how I could add value to what you guys are doing, please do let me know. Okay. Oh, by the way, Kelvin, my name is spelled Michael. It's like Michael to Michael Jackson. Normally people get confused. So just remember, the Michael
Oh
is
yeah. Oh my
Michael
goodness.
Jackson.
Let me do it.
No worries, no
Let me
worries,
do
no
it
worries.
again.
It happens all the time. So I gotta tell people that
Let,
again.
let,
You know, I was named after Michael Jackson. I'll be honest,
ooh.
Michael Jackson, because my younger brother's name is Jackson. So there you go, Michael Teoh.
Yeah.
Michael Teoh. You guys should be able to find me there, or my full name, Michael Teoh Su Lim. Hit me up. Or guys, if you are followers of Kelvin Jodeci, hey, send Kelvin a message
Yeah,
and
you
say, hey,
can
I want
find.
to connect
Yeah,
with Michael. Yeah. And then he could reach out to me. All right.
we'll
Guys,
do
thank
that.
you so much. It's a blast. Okay, now
Yeah,
we need to get this guy his other half. So TK, please. All right, come on.
yeah, yeah,
Tell
yeah.
us again how to
All
TK.
right.
Yeah,
represent yourself.
TK need to get someone.
All right. So, guys, I am on most of the social media platforms. On Facebook, please follow my page at TK_Nthebe. Just search for TK Nthebe, you'll find me. That's my Facebook page on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm TK Nthebe. You'll also find me there. On LinkedIn, I am TK Nthebe. You'll find me there. On Twitter, I am TK Nthebe. The handle is at TK_Nthebe. And I have a Facebook, I have a YouTube channel also called TKay Nthebe. So please go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, subscribe. I really share amazing content in terms of personal finances, lifestyle, and travel. And yeah, that's me, guys. Like, that's me. Hit me up, particularly in the DMs. Then we can maybe do a virtual date. And hopefully we can close the year with a significant other.
Nice. I wish you all the best, TK.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Awesome,
yeah,
buddy.
TK.
Awesome.
TK, we wish
Yeah.
you all the best. You know, and thank God because the world is a global village. So don't worry, you might just get a call from
Right.
Malaysia, or you might even get a call
Right.
from Kenya. You know, you
I'm
just
also-
have to be open-minded. You know,
Exactly.
you have to be open-minded.
I consider myself a global citizen. So, I mean, anywhere in the world, I'll fly in as soon as the borders open. Yep, we can have the first date virtually, but I can fly in wherever you are.
There you go.
Okay,
there you go.
gentlemen, it was pleasure. It was great. Thank you so much, Michael, to you, the CEO of Thriving Talents. Thank you very much, TK Nthebe, the CEO of TKay Consultancy, and it was really pleasure hosting you guys, and we hope we'll host you guys again.
Yes, I love Kenya. I'm coming to Kenya in March next year. I was supposed to be there, so I love Kenyans. I love Kenyan ladies. Yes, I'll be there.
Look at that.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.